During COVID, we were reintroduced to something that we had kind of forgotten about because it came out of post-World War II, and that was the Presidential Emergency War Powers Defense Act. It allowed the president to declare an emergency to expedite tax dollars into industry and manufacturing, which of course is what President Trump used to get ventilators made and surgical masks and things that we were told in the beginning of the pandemic if we didn't have, we would have catastrophe. Fast forward, the Joe Biden administration has just reenacted the Emergency War Powers Defense Act, which say there's no pandemic going on right now. We're not at war with anyone right now. But we are. We're at war with the fossil fuel industry, but of course, that's not what we're calling it. We're calling it green energy. We're calling it protecting the environment. As Joe Biden uses the Emergency War Defense Act to now redirect your tax dollars into electric heat.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. This is the Afternoon Drive. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel, and once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That gives you notification of my rants, my ravings, and my undeniably flawless, 100% accurate reasonings. Hey, and then once you are all locked in like that, please like and share this video. That's how we get the word out. We're here. Thank you, and welcome to the Afternoon Drive. Well, you've heard of creative financing, when businesses will rob Peter to pay Paul. Well, hey, the Biden administration now introduces you to creative war. Many of us understood during the scamdemic that all of these governors and this emergency powers that they were granted went to their heads, that there would be no limit to it. Because again, once you taste that kind of power, once you have that kind of control and authority, where no longer have you got to worry about making your case to the voter, no more do you have to work and negotiate with a legislative body. You just unilaterally, in and of yourself, make decisions, and it must be carried out. It must be done. And New York State has dead old people to prove it, because it was then Governor Cuomo that put all of the highly infected people with Rovid into nursing homes, thus killing the elderly, vulnerable population of his state. But hey, he was granted immunity because he had emergency powers. Same is true with Joe Biden. Didn't want to let up or stop those emergency powers that he kind of inherited from the Trump administration, and he kept them going for 2 full years before finally Congress had to kind of step in and say, enough. Across the country, we had state legislative bodies stripping governors of their emergency powers. Why? Because they take it too far. Here we are, 2023. This past Friday, Joe Biden enacted the Emergency War Powers Defense Act. Are we under attack? Well, technically in the southern border, yeah. But he didn't enact it for that. Have we been invaded? Well, at the border, yeah, we have, but he didn't enact it for that. Are we in desperate need of manufacturing ammunitions and supplies because of the war we're involved in? Well, according to Joe Biden, it all depends on what your definition of war is. And he has declared war on climate change. Yes, that's right, boys and girls. Remember a couple years ago when the lunatic governor of New York, no, not Cuomo, the lunatic that replaced Cuomo, Hochul or Hochul or however you say her name, decided that, homes need to be energy efficient, and that means gas stoves have got to go. And the state legislative body had to spring into action to kind of protect that. But it didn't stop the fact that the governor went ahead and pushed through and enacted this after, I think it's after 2025. No house in the state of New York can be built with a gas stove in it. It must be electric. You know, that all sounds good because it all sounds so energy efficient. But, you know, you think about all of the things that are going to require now more and more electricity, and, you know, they want our cars and our vehicles and everything to run on electric, and yet we have done nothing to enhance or build up our electric grid literally in decades. Where is all this electricity coming from? Does anybody know what it is that electric cars need for fuel to charge their cells so they can have electric? That's right, boys and girls. They need coal. They need fossil fuel to actually empower the dynamos that recharge them. So this whole thing is show on one hand. But on another level, it's bankrupting people. When in California, you can't buy a gas-powered lawnmower, a gas-powered leaf blower, a gas-powered hedge trimmer, a gas-powered weed eater. You can't get them. It all has to be electric. What about all of these small, independent, even minority-owned businesses that they mow lawns, they do lawn care? You know, I lived in Florida for 8 years, and I can tell you that there were some young men that, you know, high school was a huge challenge for them, and so the idea that they were going to graduate and go on to college was nilled and none to zero. And yet, they didn't want to be on welfare. They didn't want to just go punch a time card at a factory assembly line. They wanted to own their own business, and a lot of these guys bought some lawn equipment and are doing very well for themselves. I know a couple that were students of mine that actually have employees under them now. But they've killed that in California because, again, by the time they pay the outrageous markup on all of this electric equipment and then the number of batteries that they have to carry with them, there's nothing being gained here. Everything is being lost. Economic freedom is being lost. But this is all a direct attack on, of course, the fossil fuel industry. And you have Joe Biden, who with the stroke of a pen declared that we are at war with the climate. And now, that's it. Under the Emergency War Powers Defense Act, he is now moving $170 million into certain manufacturers that manufacture electric heat. I have lived in parts of the country that get unbelievable amounts of snow and cold during the winter. And some of those parts of the country where I've lived that have dealt with that, we had issues, especially on stormy nights, of power goes out. Okay, power goes out, especially if it's out for a couple, 3 days in the middle of a blizzard. How do people heat their homes? How do people cook? And by the way, we've heard literally a couple years ago when the Democrats and the libloons told us, you people are out of your mind, you're conspiratorial, we're not coming for your gas stoves, we're not coming for your gas heaters, for your gas furnaces, this is ridiculous, it's another conspiracy. And now Joe Biden does this, signs an executive order to take money and put it into industries that are, well, remember when Barack Obama tried this with solar heat or solar power? And every company that he gave government funding to tanked and went out of business. Your tax dollars flushed down the toilet. Now again, as an actual free market capitalist, I have no problem if one day, quote unquote, electric cars take over. I personally don't have that problem. I do have a problem when the government is manufacturing and making that happen, mandating that it happen on a certain date. Electric cars, like every other incredible innovation, invention, and development that the United States has led the world in, needs to happen organically. That as it's rolled out and as it works, the people see it, want it, and demand it. The government didn't step in and mandate money to Alexander Graham Bell on the production of the telephone. The government didn't step in on the manufacture of television. The government didn't step in on the manufacture of the home computer and the expansion of the internet. That was all driven by free market capitalism. And the same should be true with all of this electric energy for cars and advanced appliances, etc., etc., etc. But you have you might as well say Barack Obama, because Joe Biden is simply nothing but the mouthpiece for Barack Misopotamus, and now using the Emergency War Defense Act to expand his authority to influence what companies make and don't make. And you thought the scamdemic was over.